Hey guys, just another idiot here who doesn't understand Dungeon World. Getting ready to lock down some dope doo-doo. We're gonna lock down some tight poop. Ooh. Let me just push these internet buttons here. Boom. Gotta get that wild pig in there. I'm also just doing a little beep 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 boop. Good God, when's it gonna stop? When's all the stupid gonna say? I'm trapped in a tiny little box. Trapped in a tiny little box. Why are there already questions? So many questions in the stream. I'm being questioned. Questions. Isn't it a little early in the morning for questions, my friends? My internet friends? All of the peoples out in the worlds. What? The New Haven book. Wow. Man, I got to that middle part of that story, and there's this witch that's trapped underneath the city, like casting this weird glyph, and then they're going through the woods to return to New Haven, and I was just like, ugh. And I wrote it a bunch of times. I just lost all my momentum, and then I looked at the number of views and stuff on my stinking audio stories, and they're dismal. And it just was like, and when I cried, my tears turned into little mushrooms and marshmallows and mushmallows and mushrooms. And it was sad. So I don't know what the fate of New Haven will be. I was actually arranging some minis the other day, and I found those New Haven minis, and I was like, oh, I miss these little guys. What was the other question? Oh, how I became Ingrid? Hanker Infernal is a warlike person. Ingrid Bernal is a peaceful soul. Also, I rolled a character. 6 p.m. in Sweden. Shoo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-boo. It's 6 p.m. in Trudvang. When is ICRPG Volume 4 coming out? That's a funny question because it came out like 3 months ago. Okay. Welcome. Los programos, mi amigos. Barachos y dragones. Today we will be doing Hell's Hearth. So let's start writing things so we feel like we're getting something done. Hell's Hearth. So this is a bit of a play on words from the Shakespeare quote, which many of you may or may not be familiar with. With my last breath I stab at thee, from hell's heart I spit at thee. And I believe it's from Macbeth, and I have flipped it. So in my story, it's an actual hearth. It's an actual fireplace. So what's going to happen? We're going to go step by step, and what I'm doing is just with these live streams, I'm just trying to totally expose this creative process. So those of you out there who are having a hard time with it, maybe you hit a little bit of a wall, Maybe you're tired because you've been DMing for ages without a break. Maybe you're just looking for an idea for your next thing. Maybe you're just like whiling away the hours sitting here on the YouTubes with yours truly, Ingrid Bernal, resident of Barhome, small town in the mountains of Iridrum. Either way, we're going to do this just in the way that I would do it if I was sitting working in my journal. Ingrid Bernal rhymes with journal. What system is this adventure going to be for? All systems. When I design my adventures, I don't do a lot of systemic work. I mostly do conceptual work. But usually I design in an ICRPG mindset, and if I need to adapt to something else, I go from there. That's kind of how ICRPG was born, as a shorthand for designing adventures. Okay, so first of all, what the heck is Hell's Hearth? Let's get a sense for it here. First of all, I need a picture of a scary house before I can go any further. And I'm going to do this scary house by drawing some vertical lines and some other lines. And I'm going to draw this line here. This is like the clock tower from Back to the Future. Marty! Good God, that got really violent on me there. Okay, here's some nice little gables. And by nice, I mean creepy. And then you've got to have this weird window in the front. Too tall door. All for you, Damien. All for you. You really know you're getting you're an advanced. You're advanced in years when it comes to horror. When the first line you think of from a horror movie is "All for you, Damien." That was a long time ago. A long time ago in the village of Bernal. Good grief! Okay, so anyways, I'm just getting distracted now. There's no need to do this little house. But this is sort of a house-themed adventure, at least as the starting point is a house. The inspirations for this adventure are the Dunwich Horror, Darkest Dungeon, which, as you guys know, is perennially inspiring for me. I'm constantly going back to that well to be inspired by it. And then also maybe even The Color Out of Space and some other stuff like that. Okay, so what are we dealing with here? I'm staring down the barrel of Friday night game night. My party is a mountain pass, and I'm completely blank. Well, you can always put this house up in the mountain pass. That would be perfectly apropos, because this house should be in a remote locale, like all creepy houses, right? So if you're drawing a blank and you're gonna play tonight or tomorrow night, they come up, and instead of like a glorious sort of nature scene in this mountain pass, they see this house that's like built. Here, we'll even add it to this goofy drawing. Like, see, it's like built right into this rocky escarpment. This creepy path that goes up, a la Psycho. So there you go. Bang, it's in your world. Boom. Instead of finding natural wonder at the mountain pass, they find an ancient house. Okay. Hey guys, I'm Ingrid Bernal. Welcome back to Runehammer. I'm up here in Barhome and thinking about this little adventure that I wanted to start writing. And full disclosure, guys, I am writing a Torchbearer module. Not for publication, but for recreational use. Now, pursuant to that goal, I have been forced to once again confront the demons of dungeon creation. And we all know how difficult it really can be. And that's why we're here today. So we're just going to keep going. I've got till 11 or so before I need to pretend to be human. Hey, thanks, Barry. Okay, just go to Runehammer Games and go to, yeah. Yes, the video game. That's correct. This is a huge inspiration for me, the story. And so we're just going to ape that story. And here we go. Here we go. Get your bananas ready. So I'm going to set up 4 bullets. Now there might be more than 4 key facts to this story, but by just putting those dots on paper, it just gives me a little slot to fill, and now I feel like I have something to do. And I like a sense of purpose in life. This isn't The Handmaid's Tale. I want to live well. Okay, so, Hell's Hearth. First of all, let's see, how can I write this? A demonic inheritance. Okay. Then we have known crimes. We have imminent apocalypse. I hate that word, but I'm going to use it. No, I can't. I just can't abide it. I hate that stinking word. It's so overused. Imminent. We're just going to call it doom for now. And then the fireplace. Okay. So as you can see, oh, thank you, dude. Yes, this is why I love live streams so much more than edited videos. Because you guys can say stuff like catastrophe. Catastrophe. Perfect word. Thank you. Shiny tentacruel. Okay. Imminent catastrophe. Ooh, ooh, ooh. It's so good. So good. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Planet of the Apes. Ooh. All right. So, what are these things? Now, as you guys can tell by writing out these bullets, I had a little bit of an idea in my head. So I can't pretend like I'm just sitting down and completely out of nowhere I'm just coming up with this. Over the last couple days, I've given a little bit of thought to what might be cool. I bet the mansion will go down to hell at the end of the scenario. Well, yeah, I mean, that's definitely a possibility. Definitely a possibility. Especially if that's what your instincts say, then I would just embrace that. If you think that's what needs to happen, then there's a good chance and that's what should happen. All right. When did you start playing D&D, Hank? Well, I suppose it was about 1986 or so. Okay, so a demonic inheritance, known crimes, imminent catastrophe, and the fireplace. So now let's take these bullets, and because I have such short sense of the future, I need to give myself some more space now. Wait, now you wouldn't be able to do that in your journal, would you? So I don't want to cheat. In your journal, you're like writing in pen, right? So you can't do all this Photoshop-y crap. So I'm not going to cheat. Look at that. I'm just going to hang out. I'm also going to switch my pen to a simpler pen. This pen is not going to cut the mustard. And I need this mustard cut. There we go. That's better. All right. Demonic inheritance. So now what I'll do usually when I have these bullets up here and then I start thinking is I just start going to town. Like, which one of these is the most interesting? Well, this is the easiest, is imminent catastrophe. So I'm just going to do an arrow over here. And actually, no, I don't want to go down there, though. I want to go down here. The horrors will overrun all. Okay, so I know that the imminent catastrophe involved in this story is that horrors are being unleashed from hell, or from whatever hellish dimension your world contains or creates. And they're like pouring out. Like there's a spot where they're actually like tumbling out like water. Like there's lots of them. And if this is allowed to continue, it feels like it could easily fill this entire mountain pass before the night is over. Like, this is happening. This is happening now. Okay? So that one's easy. Now, we could quantify this in a little box here. like we could give it 4 stages. One per 1d4 rounds. It's a trickle. Then we have 1d4 per round. Then we have 1d6 per round. Then we have 1d20 per round. So, what is this? This is what has also been described as a world timer. So, it's not just a timer in any one encounter. It's the whole stinking night of gameplay is going to be on a timer. It's going to have 4 phases. When I have the die on those phases, this is going to be the spawn rate of the demonic horrors that are coming forth. Sean, the bush in a bag is now out front living in a fulfilling plant life. $4.99. Hoping you're hale and hearty. Can't wait to put my junk set together. Yes, the new layer of knowledge is so stacked out, it's just like intimidating. I need to get that done, though. And as for going to Oregon, are you the one from Eugene that sent me that amazing message? Because that would be really cool. Or was that Damien? All for you, Damien. Anyway, totally breaking my train of thought. Spigot. Hell's Spigot, defined as a timer. Exactly, thank you. Okay, so we have that bullet completely covered. Now, we don't know what a horror is yet, and we're going to need to know. But we're going to get there. Okay, so let's just try to cover these basic bullets before we move on. Next up, and now I need some fill-in. And you guys have seen my journals. This is how I get. It's like, as I work, I slowly begin to fill more and more of the space with ink. And I like that. I like that effect. That's a fun effect. It's a fun effect. Okay. So, why am I doing this? Because we're about to get a sense of the 4th bullet. There we go. The fireplace is my catchword for the linchpin of this story. Now, what we're going to have is, and again, you guys can think, I just don't think in a linear fashion because I can't even do the fireplace now that I had my next thought, which is I wanted to tell you guys about the water slide and pool method. Okay? So first of all, you have, to do an adventure, you have the start. The start is known. You as the DM get to set the start of the adventure. That's your purview and your privilege. Okay? Then you have water slide events. And these are rolled and therefore unknown. Okay, now just bear with me and I'm going to explain this method because I think it could be useful for you guys. Next, we have hitting the pool. Oop, that's fine. I'll do it in red. Hit the pool. And hitting the pool is also known. And then, for your sort of sandbox effect, you have what's next. And that is not known. But it's better than not known. It's player choice. Okay, so this is a big part of what I wanted to talk about today. And so it gets the red star of joy. Okay, let's talk about it real fast before we get back into the fireplace and the dungeon design. Okay, the start of the adventure is something that you write, that you create as the DM. Let me get some more canvas so I can show you guys, so I'm not cropping my image on accident here. Just a sec. Let's just bump it. Let's just bump it. If the Thanksgiving turkey is a little too small, just bump it. All right. The start of the adventure is known, and it's almost so known, it's usually like a read aloud. It's an actual written paragraph that you're going to read to your players, and you're going to say, as you enter the mountain pass, instead of seeing an amazing scene of natural grandeur and wide open scenery and rocky crags, instead you are greeted with the terrible foreboding of a rotten old mansion. But this mansion has survived the centuries by being tremendously fortified. It's mostly built of solid stone and has outlasted even some of the kingdoms of this realm. As you move forward, curious and seeking shelter, road weary from your adventures, you hear strange, gurgling, guttering, gibbering inhuman sounds, and figures can be moving around the mansion. The closer you get, you realize these figures are not human. They are not even of this world, but demonic, multi-legged things, scrambling, chewing on one another, tearing each other apart, and seeking more prey. What will you do? Okay, so you know the beginning. The beginning is set, and this is why I say the start is known, okay? But now, what I want to hit you with is this concept of the water slide, okay? So, you start, the players are there. If they really want to, maybe they could leave, right? I mean, they could like turn around and be like, screw this house. But then what you do is you attack them with demons. You drag them in, and that's the water slide. If they're going to come in, it's just like freaking Elrond, right? He calls the secret council in Rivendell. He lets everybody talk, and then he tells them, oh, by the way, you have no choice. You're going to do this because I already wrote the module. What a troll, right? So you're going to do the same thing. This opening gives them a choice in how to respond, but they don't get to say, we don't want to play tonight. That isn't a choice you're going to give players, because that's just not fun. That's just lame. Okay, so they enter the water slide. A water slide is a good metaphor because when you get on, you begin sliding and you cannot stop. You slippery wiggle your way down and down and down and down. And that's what's going to happen. You're going to accelerate into this adventure. The events that occur that cause this adventure to accelerate can be rolled. And so we're going to make a table. And this will create this tension that's going to make it more fun for you as the game master. It's going to give it much more of a created on the fly feel, which is always good for players. We all know that. It's much cooler when things are being created on the fly. And it's if needed, it's going to create replay for you or for players because it'll play out differently. But either way, this portion of the adventure, right here, is randomly generated. It is you being in the environment, in the situation, and what is happening. It comes from a table and is a collection of events, and there's no telling how they're going to play out. But despite all that freedom and all that sort of numeric, randomness and generation from tables, you're going to then hit the pool. Okay, you're going to hit the pool right here. Hit the pool. Hitting the pool means I know that after 4 encounters out of a possible 12, you're going to reach the conclusion or the sort of the climax. And in this case, the reason that I went down this whole tunnel of thinking is that the climax of this adventure is right here, the fireplace. Okay, so we're going to get to what that concept is. But then when that's concluded, if there are 1 or more survivors in your party, this is where you get the sandboxy feel for your game. A lot of people ask me constantly, how do I get a little bit of sandbox in my game, but not so much that we're just paralyzed with like players wasting time and gallivanting? The answer is that you give them the chance to alter the story at the end of a module or at the end of a night of gameplay. So in this case, we need to conclude Hell's Hearth at least a little bit. And then you can ask them, what do you want to do next? And we're not going to resolve the entire story of this mansion in one session of gameplay. But you're going to give them the choice. Do you want to continue to pursue this line of adventure? Or do you want to take these other options? Now, sometimes for what next, you can have 2 versions. You can have options, or you can have free choice. But the session is now over. You've had fun with all the content you prepared. You're good to go as the GM. The players are deep in their role-playing mindset, so they're in a very good place to make choices about what to do. The beginning of a session, unfortunately, is when a lot of this stuff tends to happen in games, and it's when players are in a terrible position to make choices about the world because they're not in their characters yet. They're thinking about their commute from work, about Doritos, about if their girlfriend is digging playing D&D and stuff like this, right? But by the end of the night, you're inside your character's mind and inside the story, and you're in a great place to drive the campaign forward with some big decisions, which are going to tell me as the game master what to prepare for next session. So this is why I live by this motto: try to only prepare one session at a time, because it keeps the choice in your players' hands. Okay, so we're working now. We're getting somewhere, okay? Let's get back to the fireplace. Okay, so the fireplace is a nickname that I have for Hell's Hearth itself. So we're going to put it down here. It's in this giant triangular chamber. It's like a pyramidal chamber. Here's the entrance. And then beyond it, there's going to be a tunnel going down. And you'll see why in a moment. But here it is. This is the hearth. Now remember, these drawings don't necessarily need to be representative, but they'll get the job done. And then there's some kind of crazy chandelier or something up here. And we'll map all this stuff out. And there's some little stairs. Like that. Little stairs into the room. There's some weird glyphs on the wall up here, like a waistcoat. Okay, then you have da-da-da. Then you have da-da-da. Right? These are sort of spiral or zigzagging staircase that go down into the depths, because the depths are cool. Now you guys know I follow this formula for a lot of my dungeons. I take a relatively straight line, I fold it up like a sausage, and send players down to their doom. Okay, so here we go. Okay, now because we're following this sort of rolled water slide method, what's in the guts of this is a little bit unclear, right? It's kind of like you could almost do this. And then we do know, maybe we know like this part, which is like this sort of cathedral room where the floor collapses. We're going to say that, okay. The cross with 6 arms is like how this begins, which in our old campaign was the sign of Lathander and the Evermoon family and stuff. It was like, had all this meaning to it. This is all collapsed, and then we have a collapse that happens here and goes into here. Okay, so now, just real quick, I need to make a note. Now, we need to explain all this stuff. I know I'm just kind of rocking on here. We're not really talking much, but hey, just, this is just how I make stuff. Okay. There we go. So I have some pieces here which I really know what they are, and I have some pieces which I don't know what they are, and that's okay. This would be me doing my prep for the night. Hey there, I can't watch for long. Okay, whatever. Peace. Thanks for stopping by. If your players are highly intoxicated at the end of the night, maybe that timing is not for you. Yeah, if you're wasted, then they might be taking things a little too silly. Okay. So I have one problem here, and I want to rectify it before I move on, which is that I kind of portrayed this as the path up to the door, and I need to keep that. So I need to ask myself a tough question. How do they wind up in this chapel? Well, this chapel is not, this map is no longer like literal side view. This is a break in perspective right here. And by a break in perspective, what I mean is that this map is not representative. This chapel that I drew right here, which we'll get a map view of, it actually lives right in here. It's like the welcome room to the mansion. So even stepping foot in here is what's going to give us our trigger to get the water slide going, okay? Now, does this even count as a dungeon design when you have this huge space that isn't, very well thought out? Sure. Because I'm still going to be ready to run a night of gameplay. Okay, and remember, I don't have this stuff figured out ahead of time like some kind of trick for you guys. So I'm working through it as you see it here in real time. Like, is this going to be fun? Am I going to be ready? And this is why, in part, I have switched a lot of my video work to be live. Is that I think it's really much more authentic and honest about the actual procedure of doing what we do. Okay. Have we answered everything? No. We have one bullet that does not have... Oh, no, we have two bullets that are not explained. Look at that. This is why my bullets are so useful. A demonic inheritance. What does that mean? Well, I had a little bit different setup for this story than what came up in the chat, which was this mountain pass idea. If it's the mountain pass, let's just say, or mountain pass. Okay? So the mountain pass scenario has them coming to the house because they're traveling. My original idea was that they come to the house because they inherit it. One of your party members actually is a descendant of the owner of the house. Inherits this house, and so they go there because it's, of course, jam-packed with riches is what, the locals kind of think. But they also say, never go up there. And that's the story of Darkest Dungeon, is that you inherit the manor in Darkest Dungeon. Ruin has come to our family, right? That's the preamble of Darkest Dungeon, and that's what I wanted to play with. So you can do either way. Okay, so that bullet is now answered, and known crimes is my nickname for this part of the game, right here. The known crimes basically is the sort of the terrible things that the former owners of this mansion, or current owners, however you want to spin it, have committed in order to plumb the depths of power and demonic secrets of this place. It's the terrors that they've committed. And there's going to be a little list of these terrors, and the players are going to encounter those terrors in the form of a dungeon. Does that make sense? So imagine a known crime being the torture of witches as a really easy one to conjure. Okay, so this family, in their search to understand the power that was underneath this house, would find witches and magicians of power and take them down to a certain chamber and torture them to try to get answers. That chamber is one of the rooms that we get to roll for during the water slide of the adventure. Okay? And then the rules on each room that we put in that collection of room are that they need to be the water slide. They need to be a one-way trip that's going to sweep everyone along and make it fun so they're not having too many decisions and they're trying to survive. Now, I know that isn't the only style of gameplay, but it is my style. It's the DCC style of gameplay, and it is a little bit the Torchbearer style of gameplay, at least in the way that I interpret Torchbearer. Now, after waking up and being called an idiot this morning, I'm trying to be mindful of the fact that I don't claim to know how to run systems properly. Like yesterday, I realized I am the worst person to be involved in the Pathfinder playtest. I just look at Pathfinder 2e as a fun book. I like the ideas in it, and I kind of can glean a little bit of organizational ideas and some ideas for some powers from it, and some monster making from it. I'm the last person in the world you want to be playing rules as they're written and giving feedback. I don't play anything as it's written. What I do is I draw inspiration from game systems, and what I think is fun, I talk about and play with. So I don't really need to be called an idiot for not fully understanding Dungeon World. I don't really appreciate that. But if someone thinks I am an idiot, then that's okay. That's their opinion. But I draw from systems in a way that just gets to my table so that I can have fun. I still have yet to fully figure out how to play Torchbearer, but I do understand enough of it that it's inspiring me to create adventures like this one. Yeah, Rats in the Walls is absolutely fantastic. Okay. More key mechanics and room design, please. Ricky Mario, what do you think I'm doing right now? I'm doing key mechanics and room designs as we speak, and you're telling me to dance, monkey. These are room designs. Okay. Plus, I'm just not sure how to tell everybody, but the time isn't just going to stand still and we're going to do room designs and key mechanics videos for the rest of time. It's not going to work that way. Life moves on and things change. Okay, Hell's Hearth. Here we go. So this gave us all the answers that we need, right, to get started. We're feeling pretty solid about getting the room ready. Now, the biggest thing I need answers for is known crimes. So here we're going to title this page, The Known Crimes of Aldous Vexmore. Okay, so Aldous Vexmore is the former or perhaps current master of this manor, right? And this is my sort of my Hawthorne type character. This is my witch hunter, right? Most systems got to worrying about playing the game you want. It's your game now. Get it? Yeah, well, yeah. Tiny information is powerful when put together. My games are a hack. Yeah. All games, I think, honestly, when they hit the table, become hacks. And if they're not, the misery of trying to look up proper rules while you play just sounds like something I'm not interested in. I'm sure people have fun doing it. Rock on. I'm just getting, yeah, to where I just want to do that and enjoy. Yes, Aldous, Konkma, thank you for asking. Aldous Vexmore is related to the players. Thank you for bringing that up. Let's just make a little asterisk in green so we don't forget, okay? Because, dang, that's such a great point. And we're going to put it down here. Look. Find family tree shows one PC. Okay, so at some point we're going to put a little green asterisk on one of our maps, and that asterisk is going to be where you find like an old family tree book in the manor, and it's like really big, or maybe it's even a tapestry, and you see all the names, and one of the players' names is in the family tree, right? So we want that element. Thank you for bringing that up. Brilliant. Okay, so we're going to do 8 options here. This is a 1d8 roll. Now remember, this is a method that I strongly recommend, is make yourself slots before you know what they are. Instead of writing the number 1 and then writing an idea and then writing the number 2 and writing an idea, write all 8 numbers. I know this seems like silly minutia, but it's a creative device to kick your brain and say you need 8 things. Because one of the biggest problems that I know you guys face, because I face it, is you write 1 or 2 items and then you come up a little dry, right? And you're not sure what that third item is going to be. It's because, in part, you're thinking inside each one. If you set yourself up for I need 8 ideas, you'll get less robust ideas. That is true. But you'll tend to get more than 2 or 3 before you go dry. I believe that. I don't know if there's some kind of science to back that up, but I really believe that creative method helps to kickstart your brain. Okay, so I'm going to go to a little bit lighter ink here so we don't get too confused with all the data that we're going to be seeing. Okay. The known crimes of Aldous Vexmore. Now let's just go with what we have, okay? Torturing witches. Okay, anybody else can throw one out there. Let's get some ideas going here. Excuse me. Torturing witches. Whoa, a portrait. Oh, that's a great idea. Let's just do that as one of these. The what can we call it? The Blasphemous Gallery. And we'll fill these in. Okay, so the collection of books. And we're just gonna use the E word. The E word is generally kind of a cop-out, but because it's so simple-minded, but that's okay. Sometimes I just like to use it. The burning. Burning the innocent. Dear Lord, that's one of the worst ones yet. Okay. Alchemy. I love it, guys. You're flowing right now. A stolen grimoire goes into the collection of evil books. Endangered animals. Whoa, that's weird. Oh man, that's the menagerie. Ooh, that's just ripe with possibility. I love it. Killing other demons is really interesting. So let's do that, and we'll call that like demon experiments. He's trying to understand what all this power is and how he can harness it. You know, that's Aldous Vexmore's mission. Hunting men for sport, slavery, eating of human flesh. That's kind of similar. Tax fraud. Hunting men for sport. Oh my gosh, that's intense. But it's just so specific, I can't deny it. So let's do it. And there we go. We have 8. Now, creatively, I'm cheating a little bit right now, right? Because we have all of us working together. Usually when you're doing dungeon prep, you're going to be doing it alone. But are you? Do you have to? Heck no. You can always get your buddy on Google Hangouts, or you can go hang out in the coffee shop or in the pub, and you can do this stuff together. Even one other mind, 2 minds has 10 times the creative capability of 1. It's exponential rather than multiplicative. So, there we just combined all our creative power and we just like ripped right through this. So, we are going to roll when a door is opened. Okay, and then obviously you can't repeat rooms. Or can you? That could be your call as the DM. You could allow the repeating of rooms. So he actually does sort of one activity more than once, and it causes that type of feel as you move through this dungeon. That would be fine. But we're not going to do a lot of branching and a lot of crazy navigation in this dungeon. We're going to do thematic revelation as the sort of core fun. Okay, so each one of these now is going to need a little bit of data. And so now we're going to go to a little bit lighter color. Now, if I was working in pen, this would just be that I would lighten my pressure on my pen to get this sense of what's bold and what isn't. But I have the privilege of being able to use color here, obviously. But this is how your journal is going to shape up. So first of all, we have the torturing of witches. Okay, so what's going on in here? What presses them forward? Well, there has to be a torturer, one still alive, and one caged. Okay, next we have the Blasphemous Gallery. This has a picture comes to life. There's a PC portrait. And there is like a storm. Which you'll understand what I mean in just a second. Okay, next we have the collection of evil books. So we have the librarian. He's going to be a problem. And then we have skitters. And then we have findable books. Like now we're really getting into the guts of things here. Okay, burning the innocent. So it's like the stoves, and then there are magmins. That one's really simple. Okay, next we have alchemy. And this one, I think we're going to have slimes and oozes. And toxic gas. This is what's going to push them out of the room. Then in the menagerie, I think actually for the menagerie, we're going to have a little bit of a down moment. So all these beasts are dead. The terrible smell drives them forward. And some kind of a sound. I need a loud sound that gives them away. A squeal. Okay? Demon experiments. Now here's probably one of our most difficult rooms, which is we have this like abomination. We have skitters again. And we have Link to the Hearth. So this could form a shortcut in the adventure. Hunting men for sport, finally. We have Caged. We have Aldous himself. And we have a map of the manor. Okay, so that is everything. I don't really see machines as a part of this theme. I kind of like the idea there, but machinery I don't think quite fits, if that's okay. Yeah, it's sort of like some hybrid kind of stuff is going on. I think that's a good way of thinking of it. Okay, so now I'm just doing these little bits and bobbles because they help me see my work. And I learn a lot better when I can see clearly. But as you can see, okay, so we have everything we could ever want. And that would be, honestly, too much gameplay for a night. So just because of the nature of the stream, we probably don't have time to do room designs on all of these. So let's do some of the more enjoyable ones, okay? Like, what do we have here? Let's do this one. The Magmans. Let's do this one. And let's do this one. Okay, so I'm going to do a little 1d8 here. Okay, there's a little 1d8. I always like to have a little rolling dice because, I don't know, it makes me feel fun. Okay. Mechastopheles. Will you publish these pages on Patreon? I'm already itching to dive in and play this thing. Yeah, sure, I'll throw them up. Okay. Whew. So you can see how, like, you get this feeling of escalation through your task as a dungeon master. You're like, man, I need to fill all these in now if I'm really going to run this. I need to have a sense for what these are. So just for these 3 rooms, we're going to go ahead and design them. So the Blasphemous Gallery, let's think about that first. So you've got, and now I'm just kind of running on pure instinct. So you've got an entrance, you've got a rectangular space because this is an intuitive, this is human architecture, it's not a beholder layer. You got some stairs coming down. I usually just use an arrow like that to indicate entrance and descent. And then you maybe have a door here, which is sort of like an iron, just to run with Pillipow's latest craft, which I love doing in whatever I'm working on. There's an iron door here. Okay? Then you have this kind of thing. And you guys, I hope you guys will recognize this encounter when I start drawing it out. On the walls, there are 4 gigantic portraits, oil paintings. And like there's this big rug in the middle. And the room is an open room. Maybe there are torches in these 2 corners. And they're snuffed. It's dark in here. So when some illumination finally comes into the room, you reveal these gigantic portraits. Like these things are like, 8 feet tall and 4 feet wide, like these big creepy portraits. And they are a portrait of a storm, a portrait of a knight, a portrait of the PC, and a portrait of Aldous himself. And here we are. This is the Ganon fight from the end of Zelda. Okay, so the reason that these are set up in this arrangement is that when a portrait comes to life, and you could roll 1d4 for portrait, 1d4 portrait activation. Right, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. When the portrait comes to life, it bursts out like this, and the thing painted in it enters the room. The thing enters the room and lasts for 1 round. Okay, so let's get some mechanics down. Okay, so the timer in this room, man, I just don't have that much space. Here we go. The timer is deadliness. The threat is the knight. The treat is the PC. And actually, you know what? Deadliness isn't accurate enough for the timer. I think the timer is going to be the storm. Okay, so when these things activate, they come into the room, they do what they do for 1 round. And then they storm through and disappear into the far portrait. Just like in Zelda. Like that. Okay, so then all you need to do, and I don't even need to know if I need to design it right now, but you would need a little bit of a statistical breakdown on what the storm does. So the storm makes everything worse in this room. It blows the players side to side. It pushes them around. It inundates them with rain and cold and whatever, and then sucks into the far painting. And then you roll again, and then like the knight comes out and he swings this massive sword, and then he goes and he like spirals and disappears into the other painting. And it's just like, what the hell is going on? We got to get out of here. So they run down, they see the iron door, and this thing won't budge, and so they're working on a problem to get the iron door open while dealing with this stinking room. Now, as far as the difficulty of this room, you may not be playing ICRPG, that's okay, but you can still think in targets because they provide relativistic difficulty. Don't make this one too insanely hard because there's a lot going on. So it's somewhere in the 14 realm. And I don't know exactly where your players are in power and all that stuff, but this is just a way that I think. Okay? Storm, yes. Disruption, exactly. And if the storm doesn't feel disruptive enough, you can escalate. Change rain to hail. Change that into more like a tornado. Add lightning. A storm is a highly volatile, unkillable entity that you can use to do as much and as crazy of stuff as you want. Now, when Aldous' portrait is rolled, what does he do? He probably talks to the players. He probably tries to seduce them into joining his twisted goal, which is to unleash the full power of this house. Whoa! And then he gets sucked into the far painting before you can kill him. Because, A, he's really kind of not real in a way. Maybe you want to try some immunities, like this knight can't be harmed by anything other than spells and stuff like this. There's all kinds of go ahead and design it kind of data here that I'll let you guys do for yourselves. But we've got our first room. Okay, that is the Blasphemous Gallery. Next we have Burning the Innocent. And he's not doing this in a wood paneled room. Oh no. Okay, so again, we just got our little corridor that's coming down with some stairs. And this is a cavern. And the cavern has a pinch point. And then a lobe back here. And then whoosh, on it goes down. No doors. There we go. This cavern is now far below the... I'm going to write this actually because I think it's important. Far below the manor. Or far below ground. And remember, you're rolling these. So if you get the gallery after the cavern where the burning happened, that's even weirder. There's like a weird room way down there. Oh, that's super creepy. Yes, if your players are up to a challenge, Gabriel, that's that specific, if they're used to puzzles that are that specific, then definitely, you'll know your group. Okay. The burning. So I had two little ideas here, and I just want to record them quickly in my map. There are stoves and there are magmans. Now this is a bit dark, you guys, so if this is a little too dark for your group, I understand. But basically Aldous took people down here, and he has these giant like black iron stoves where many poor innocent souls have met their end. And so there's like a lot of ashes and skulls and stuff, and it's really very dark and very sad stuff. So if that's a little too intense for your campaign, you might not want to do a room like this. But you need to be sensitive to those things. You don't want to get so demonic and crazy with your game that it's actually disturbing. But you'll know that based on your own group. Okay, so the stoves are just here, to be like big sort of cover objects, to be something interesting to investigate, to reveal more about the layer of evil that's happening here, the depths of the evil that's happening here, but then also to sort of draw characters. So I'm not even going to put one here, to draw them into the room, and namely to draw them closer to the pinch point. The pinch point is the interesting part. Okay, so we got these. I'm going to put little grills on these. Oh my gosh, so it's really dark. It's a really dark topic. Okay, magmans. So the souls of these poor innocent people who have been cooked into oblivion in this chamber. Namely, he was either doing it to dispose of them, or he was performing some ritual. Whereas, if he would, sacrifice these souls, he could get the hearth, he could get Hell's Hearth to open wider, to get more horrors to come through. And so he does have these like markings on the floor around this burning pole. Right? And if you're playing in ICRPG, you can make this a wizard's lock. And the wizard locks, they all connect, and they connect the worlds of warp shell and stuff. They do all kinds of weird stuff, so you could do that. Or you just have weird markings all over the floor, like pentagram type stuff. Okay. The souls who have lost their lives in here, though, are not at rest. In fact, they are huddled over here in the darkness. And there are little groups of them, in groups of 1d12 magmans per group. How many groups are there? Well, if you want a fixed level of difficulty, then you have a fixed number of monsters. If you want it to be a spawner, you could do that too. I'm partial to spawners, so I think actually some holes have developed in the ground here that have like ever-burning fires in them. And those holes are issuing forward magmans. So you get 1d12 magmans either per round or per timer. So by saying per timer, I leave it to you guys. If you want to do per round, you can, to make it mega deadly. If you wanted to do every 1d4 rounds to let the dice decide, you could do that too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you guys are seeing exactly how it is playing out. Okay, so the magmans now are filled with rage and sadness. Their poor souls have been sacrificed for this hellish mission that this twisted old man is on. And they want to pour out of their little room and come in here and begin the encounter by, sort of guerrilla tactics against the heroes. So then, like attacking them and then receding. And then what happens that's terrible is that the players realize they have to go through this place where the magmans are spawning to keep going. That's a dark moment of realization. Like, we're going to have to go through there. Kind of like in Silent Hill when she has to go through that fenced area where all those poor like ash creatures are. Oh God, so dark. But why? Why can't they go back up? And you could do a number of things. You could do a collapse. You could do smoke. It's just like choking. It kind of blocks the exit. You can even, like completely meta. If it's like late at night and you can tell like you just can't go back up this corridor. Or let them go a little ways up it, and then there's some other more horrible thing there. Like Aldous is up there. I don't know. But no giant spider. You're not going to do a giant spider because it doesn't fit the theme. There's plenty of giant spiders in other games. Okay, so basically this is just a combat. And you can discover some fun details in here. Who were the Magmans? Why did this happen? Maybe it was like the children of the nearby village. Maybe it's related to one of your character's bonds or story background pieces. You can do all kinds of fun tidbits here because you've got a pretty basic room set up. And then you can play with some of the nuance and the detail that's revealed in the content. Or in the sort of substrat. Yeah, exactly. Fravely. I think this is exactly where I want you guys to go creatively. I'm not going to give you everything because it just isn't time. But I love that a dungeon master's mind would go where yours just went, Fravely, which is like, ooh, I think I have my version of it, which is here's how this door is unlocked, and this and then I think, oh yeah, okay, I see how I would do it, and that to me is the wealth of A, doing this type of work, and B, doing it live, because I get to interact with you guys and see how you're running with it, and I think it's much more creative and much more interesting for both of us to do it this way. So finally, we have the experiments. Now we need a room design that's going to be conducive to this. So I'm going to do almost like this weird kind of engine design. Okay, so here I've got the entrance in a somewhat unorthodox position. And then we've got the exit down here. Okay, and let's do another iron door. So players should be, somewhat pre-informed on a meta level when they see an iron door. It's kind of like, oh crap, we're probably going to have to find a way to get that open while we're dealing with Ingrid Bernal's DM style. Okay, so we have a lower central area and then two little steps that lead up to three raised areas like a laboratory. And on the way down, what are these? Hanging on the walls of this very long descending staircase are like basically plague doctor gear. Or we're just going to say plague gear. So these are like, gas masks, goggles, leather aprons, stuff like that, so that as you're descending, you can equip yourself to work in this sort of demonic experimentation laboratory. Each one of these little stair areas needs to feature a sort of a warding glyph. And players should be able to figure out that that's what these glyphs do, is that they magically sort of lock off these side chambers. And in the side chambers, is it too early to stop drinking or start drinking? Absolutely not. You can do what you got to do, but don't ruin your day. All right. So now let's think up three little varieties. So in one, we have the abomination. This is the easy one, right? We have this huge thing. Jimmy. We have this huge thing, and it is chained to the wall. And of course, it breaks its chains, but the ward holds it in this little sort of neck of the space. But if it has any ranged attacks at all, The ranged attacks can go beyond the ward, and so, you get into all that. Okay, so that's the abomination. Then over here, you have this room of like the failed experiments. So there's all these like demonic corpses. And then maybe there's like a work table with like a demon that's been chopped apart. There's some markings on the floor. There's some writings in a book. This would be a little more of a tone piece. And then here, on the third one, the ward has been scratched out. See that? Who knows what happened here, but something went terribly wrong, and you just have chains off the wall that are hanging limp. There's nothing in here. Where is it? And then I'm just going to put a note here. Ceiling. So you guys can see that down in the corner there, tiny. And then I'm going to put a little, oh my God face. Which basically means, oh crap, it's on the ceiling. So this thing is broken loose, it's scratched its ward off, and this is your chance to spring on them with a really bitchin' demon enemy. And how they use this environment, like maybe they could actually use the chained abomination to want to eat the ceiling dweller. Maybe they could trick it into doing that. Maybe, who knows, maybe they can hide amongst them. There's all kinds of fun that you can have here. Okay, so let's get back to our basics. So down here, the Magman room I see as a real just have fun with this, guys. That's like a 12 difficulty. And then this one I see as the real holy shnikes. This sounds like gnarly. And so this one I'm going to put at 16. What am I... Why... 400 rubles? What the devil is going on in Russia? Somebody get me a conversion on that. I can't even read Cyrillic, so I can't thank you properly, my friend. How do I pronounce your name? I can't read that stuff, although it's really cool looking. Cyrillic is so badass. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, and remember? Oh, what do we have? Skitters. Yeah, the Skitters. $6. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. It sure looks cool, though, doesn't it? The Skitters. So don't forget the Skitters. The Skitters are just all over the place in here. They're just like, they're crawling on the abomination. They're like nibbling on the corpses. They're all over the place. So if you wanted, you could just do some dots for yourself so you remember later. Don't forget the Skitters, because I almost did, right? You guys noticed that I almost did. There we go. The Skitters just make things interesting. They come to this door. Maybe it's you escalate the iron door mechanic. This one is locked in a way that's more difficult than the last iron door that they encountered. That could be possible. And we're getting a little crammed. So do you feel this feeling about how this is a lot of times how your journal will wind up looking, right? It gets a little cramped because you can't pre-plan space when you're being honestly creative. And so I want you guys to see and feel that with me, because that's a big part of the authenticity that I want to bring to the channel. Is I don't have it all premeditated where everything looks good in a nice little layout. This is real business. Okay. This is the farmer's market of D&D right here. Okay, so remember the family portrait thing. We didn't really necessarily need that because we wrote it down, but here it is. Just for the sake of... There it is. See, there's the link to that green concept, which you guys brought up in the chat, which is a great, great concept. So it's actually a treat. So when the hero comes out of the painting, for one reason, or for one round, I mean, you have a clone of one of your heroes, and maybe that could be used in a way. How does one go about donating? You click the little $sign underneath the chat. See, there's a smiley face and a $sign. You just click that little $sign and do your thing, and it'll you can throw a dollar. You can throw in a dollar. Okay, guys, so now you're seeing how I'm working my way through these rooms. Now, if you didn't want to have a rollable middle to the adventure, you could just do 3 rooms like this, and maybe that's your whole adventure. There you go, great. Don't have to have the rollable component. Okay, now we're going to finish up by doing the hearth itself. The pool. Falling into the pool, remember? Alright, so we go to our final page. The fireplace of woe. Okay. So Hell's Hearth is actually this sort of the real heirloom of this mansion. It is why this has been passed down as a sort of a curse in the Vexmore family, because this fireplace. Now, its exact origin is sort of unknown, but it definitely dates back to some antediluvian time. This is basically a portal to hell that was decorated to be a fireplace by some twisted mind that has long since left the earth. Okay? But it has become like the burden of this family to sort of care for this. Now, a great movie you can watch that also had this theme, I believe was called The Sentinel. Excuse me. Old 70s horror film about basically this old man in New York who his apartment is the gateway to hell, and he guards this apartment. It's freaking awesome. Especially if you're into like 70s horror like I am. So I'm just getting myself a sketch of the hearth itself. Why? Because it's going to help me put my mind there. These like sort of Doric columns that form the sides. What's that yellow I'm seeing out of the corner of my eye? Whoa, $10 from Brazil. Thanks, man. I know that everybody works hard for their ducats, so that really means a lot that you would want to throw them in the skull like that. I really appreciate it. 10 ducats from Artur Fernando. Thanks, brother. You guys keep me rolling and rocking when you give up those hard-earned ducats. You know, because I gotta tell you, none of this stuff is guaranteed. You know, sometimes it blows my mind I'm still surviving doing this stuff. But it's just because of people like you, my shield dwarves, my lumpy-headed weirdos, my three-thumbers, no sleeves on the t-shirts, extra arm growing out the back. Crazy peoples. One great thing about Gen Con is just being able to meet a bunch of the crazy arm growing out the back nut jobs in person. It's a lot of fun. Alright, so this is like the hearth itself, and has these gargoyles. These like abstract gargoyles. And honestly needs to be sort of more hellish than this. And a lot of times like repeated shapes. Like a lot of Riddick did this a lot. Like Riddick used a lot of repeating shapes to portray evil architecture. Like these repeating blade shapes or spiny shapes. Like the ships had all those like grills on them, you know. Do this kind of thing. It makes everything feel evil and like sharp to the touch. What is this? Sigurd Johansson. Now that is a goodly Viking name. A goodly name. Proud name. Sigurd Johansson. Who will be on this journey? I will go. If Sigurd is going, then I will go too. So now I'm just doing more markings. Why am I drawing this? I'm spending all this time just drawing this for no damn reason. So remember, guys, I love the tips. The number one way, if you really want to help me out, is to spread the word about Runehammer. I don't really do marketing. I'm not supported by any companies. I don't really do like the whole WotC thing. I don't, go to all the cons and do all the stuff. I really just depend on word of mouth. So if you really think it's worth watching, then that's the best way to help me out. But thank you so much for the tip, Sigurd Johansson. I bet Sigurd Johansson looks like a goodly Viking. 4 feet tall with pointy ears. Oh, wait. The Hearth of Hell is, of course, has a spiral portal inside of it. Ah, no. Everybody loves a spiral portal at the end of adventure. Oh, God, it's so terrifying. Okay, so then here come the party members. They're like this big. Now, why am I spending so damn much time on this? Because this is the big reveal at the end of my adventure. This is the pool at the end of the water slide. This matters to me. So if this is the only drawing I have to show my party, it could be, like, I don't know how much prep time I'm going to get before it's game time. So I might need to put a little bit of loving into this and then throw it on do a printout or throw it on a card that could go onto a standee. So it actually, sort of forms a piece of terrain. Who knows? But I just know in my heart that when something is this central to the story, I need to see it a little bit. So I just have to take the time, and you guys have to sit through it. Old Blob Ross is at it again. All right, there we go. I'm going to stop for now. I could just go on with this forever because it's getting cool. Okay. Pictures with 1,000 worlds. Thanks a lot for the tips, you guys. It's really, really, really appreciated. It's really generous, and I'm not joking around or exaggerating when I say that I truly do understand and appreciate how everybody works hard for their ducats. Everybody out there has to earn those dollars one at a time, and it means a lot to say that you would appreciate this kind of silly content enough to sacrifice that hard work. It really means a lot to me. All right. Cool. So here we are at Hell's Hearth, and we've got a sense for the hearth itself. Let's get a sense for the room. I'm going to go with grandeur. Boom, 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 boom. Stairs coming in, and we're going to do this like a... Oh, wait, I'm not allowed to move my canvas around like that, am I? Because you guys start to not be able to see. So we're going to go like this. There we go. Okay. Boom. Then we're going to go like that. There's going to be a nave over here. Boom, boom. There it is where the hearth is going to be. Boom, boom. And there's another one over here. Whoop, 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 whoop. Now, you might be wondering where this is coming from. I have no idea. I'm just completely winging it right now. Okay, these I don't think have doors. These are just open doorways. And then here you have Hell's Hearth itself, which is on a series of raised steps. And then here is the thing itself. So there's the two. So actually for this picture up above to make sense, let me sort of correct it so that I have continuity here. Okay, there it is. So for that to match, I would need this like this kind of thing, right? It's on this raised. And are these like properly drawn stairs and stuff? Hell no. We don't have to get crazy. Yeah, see? So you just get that feeling of, the players walking up to this thing. All right, then, of course, you're going to have pillars. You did Black Magic Craft's pillar tutorial. You got cool terrain. You need to use it, so we're going to use it. Here you got 4 pillars. Plus, it's also a very classic architectural style for a cathedral-type room to have pillars in this arrangement. It's going to create familiarity for your players. They're going to feel like they understand this space. We're going to put pews in here. We're going to put 4 pews up front. This is where the faithful await whatever comes forth. But here's the problem. This shit has flown wildly out of control. So I'm just adding some shadows here. And then there are scratches and gouges all in the floor, all over the place where this hearth is. Some terrible shit has gone down where this fireplace opens into the room. Okay, as for these little nave rooms, really all I wanted to do here, these are like research rooms. But I think they're also very dark. And they're a hiding place for horrors. They're going to be destroyable spawners. So since it says very dark, I'm just going to get a nice big pen and just kind of do this. And this darkness I don't even think is natural. I think this is impenetrable, inky blackness here, because these side rooms, which were once, used for, reading and study and, blasphemous activity by men, are now just like where these things like sort of almost pool, like eddy, Please finish the Dark Fantasy campaign. Yeah, the ending to that was, the night, the Night of Thunder, which I believe I talked about quite a bit, but maybe didn't do all of the room design for it. But again, just like the Rangers of Numidia, Prisoners of Moloch, I don't really end things. I like to leave that to you and your players. Maybe that's a squeam out on my part, but that's just kind of how I think. I'm not looking to end cap those things. Okay. Anyway, these pillars I'm going to blacken in so we can see that they're solid. Now, what goes on here? Well, I'll tell you, Aldous does not want this thing to be closed, and that's probably now the goal of the party. Excuse me. So, we have those final questions to answer, right? Oops, I'm not allowed to move it. I can't move it because you guys will start to not be able to see. Okay. What about the black hack? Well, what about it? Talk about a non sequitur. What about electric cars? All right, so here we have the Hearth. So the Hearth is demon spawn. Also a portal. So a magician, or maybe anyone in your party, can actually look into the Hearth and see into the realm of Asmodeus. Like you can see the pyramid of Asmodeus in hell. And this would be an opportunity for a high-level party or an ambitious party to actually enter hell and take the fight to the enemy, if that was a thing. Like maybe you have a lawful good paladin who's been on this mission to find a way to hell to take the fight to them, and this could be that. And so I want to provide that option. Okay, but then we got a little bit different scenario as far as these, which are like sort of dormant horrors. Okay, and then the dormant horrors are also here. We have pews. And we have the Vexmore glyph. Okay, then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say Aldous is right here. He's got 3 actions. He can teleport. He can regen on his glyph. He can do a TK push. And then for a substrat there, I want to say into sides. So what does that mean? Well, a telekinetic push is he has some kind of like wind burst or wall of force spell, and he uses this generally as a tactical method to shove his enemies into these pitch black rooms. Because once a living being enters one of these pitch black rooms, it awakens all these horrors that are in there just going, and they begin eschewing forth. It's also really terrifying and dark in here, and you could do all kinds of mechanics there. And these things then start coming out. So if you are blundered into here, it's just like the Whelp Cave in the Onyxia fight in the old World of Warcraft vanilla days. Then you're going to need to collapse this doorway to stop the flow of horrors from these side rooms. It could also be a way to isolate. But you can resist the TK push by getting sort of behind the cover of these pillars. Right? So if he's on his glyph, then these dotted areas I'm drawing would be safe. And so you're going to use the pillars for that. He also, I think he has like a spell, like we're going to call it something like Red Lightning. And then he has like Mind Eater, like a Mind Flayer. And then he can probably accelerate the summon. So he can actually like lift the flames in Hell's Hearth to exacerbate or accelerate the rate at which the demons are coming out of the fireplace, right? He's going to say, I need not fight. My terrors will fight for me. Why do you think I've been locked in this hell for so long, if not to learn the secrets of causing them to rise? Okay, so then your final piece will be consider a supreme demon, if you need it. If they, trick their way out of beating Aldous, maybe you need a supreme demon to make the fight more interesting. Also, portal, use as door. Maybe we also have, like, here at the edges, we have some little tables. And you can find books. You can find magic candles, and maybe a ritual dagger. So these are sort of the treats that can be found. The ritual dagger would be a great way to stab Aldous and end him. Maybe it's and just because it's awesome, I have to do it. Here we go, here we go, here we go. And then it's like the dagger is called like the Hand of Hell. And here's what the dagger looks like. See, so it's like this dagger with a human hand as the quillin, or as the hilt guard. Ritual dagger, there it is right there. It doesn't have blood on it, that's a little too cheesy. Okay. So anyways, just a fun detail to discover, and then if you want to, pre-plan what this dagger can be really useful for, what its exact powers are, you could. It could be a powerful magic item. You could mine player instinct for what they think this thing can do, and then sort of have it do that. Something that I do quite often. Oh, I bet this thing blah blah blah, and then you make a little note to yourself. Yeah, this thing does blah blah blah. You mine player guesses as the absolute truth. Okay, hell ends up being a safer escape. Yeah, that'd be another one, Michael, is like this whole, yeah. Is this for a one-shot? Well, maybe you missed the introduction, but I consider all adventures to be one night of gameplay. So everything's a one-shot in a way in my mind. Yeah, the Supreme Demon devouring Aldous. Aldous being cast into the portal and lost in hell. One of the players being thrown through the portal because of the TK push. So I want to introduce all these variables, but not answer what's going to happen. So if you guys notice, as I'm proceeding here, I'm not telling you, okay guys, Here's how it's going to go down. No, that's not my purview. I'm the dungeon master, not a player. My purview is to set up a situation and set a setting and a mood. The players will decide exactly what goes down and how it plays out. Sorry, I just had to modify this. It's like it just calls to me. It's the hideous allure of a portal. Cool. And like I think there's also like soot and smoke rising from this thing as it's sitting there. And you know, maybe there's also a vent, right? Like there's a vent right here. And that vent goes all the way to the surface. So if there's an escape, if the room begins to fill with smoke or with brimstone or something like this, maybe that's a factor. Maybe they shove the supreme demon back to hell. Maybe they're chased down here, and then, oh boy, it's trash day. You guys hear the spaceship docking at my house? So there's just a zillion different outcomes. Maybe you could destroy the glyph on the ground so that he can't regenerate. Maybe you could destroy the pillars and you actually collapse the entire thing, and the whole freaking foundations of the manor all collapse into the caverns, and the caverns are all sucked into the freaking hearth. And at the very end of the story, all that's left is the fireplace itself, like in this big crater and this mountain pass, right? There's a lot of different things that could go down. Someday they're going to work on trash trucks to quiet them down. Like electric trash trucks. How cool would that be? Okay. So, before I get so excited that I just like pop a brain vessel here, because I feel like I'm about to, let's call it. Because I think when you guys start seeing those infinite number of outcomes, that's kind of when your prep is about complete. If those outcomes are starting to write themselves and starting to want to come into being, that means you've prepared a great concept. You don't need to prepare an outcome. That's for players to do. But if the outcomes start feeling like they want to come into existence, you've nailed it. Trash Prius. The players have disrupted the final ritual. Yeah, exactly. And that, my friends, is all I need to do, because you can fill in all the other blanks. Now, I do want to make a quick note that this room is deadly. It's got an 18 target on it. This is a very difficult thing to survive. You can't make it weak. You have to do triple what you think should be the difficulty for players to actually be intimidated. Like, it needs to be extremely difficult for them to care about the mechanics and to really want to, utilize the scene as you're imagining all its grandeur. It can't be just a tank and spank and they walk away. It's got to be deadly as hell. Plus, you know how players are. They can scare up all kinds of extra bonuses, and they can always get like good rolls going and so on and so on and so forth. So everything's going to work out. Okay? That's pretty funny today. There we go. I did that entire project without saving. How exciting is that? Okay. Shiny tentacruel. So that gives us, now that feels pretty much like a railroad, right? But that's just because we're just seeing this in a, hey guys, here are the key notes to it. Right? Exactly how all this is role played and how these rooms connect and what kind of sort of pathing and what exactly happens in the chapel for the floor to collapse, for them to enter the dungeon, and exactly how it all goes down. That's what makes it not a railroad. But yeah, in concept, it's a little bit of a like, hey, welcome to this manor. This is kind of what's going to happen. It's going to be exciting. There's going to be some stuff. We're going to reveal some truths and wow. And I don't see railroading as limiting players' ability to have fun. Railroading in its bad form is when it limits players' ability to have fun. Like, you will not go through this gate until you say the password. And then that's it. That's all I provide you. And then I just lean back as the DM while you guess passwords. That's the bad kind of railroading. I think the okay kind of railroading is when, what's going to happen is a bit of a water slide. But how you do it, how you role play, how the dice play out, that is what can never be known and never be so-called railroaded. I hope that makes sense. But that's it, guys. This is Ingrid Bernal. And I will be posting all these sheets for your perusal on the Patreon page later today. And also this week's podcast should be out either later today or tomorrow. And it's a little bit of a follow-up, especially on the water slide technique, and more about Hell's Hearth and Aldous Vexmore. And we're going to dive a little bit further into it on the podcast. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. It's great to have you, and it's a lot of fun just exposing myself to the uncertainty of doing this kind of work live right here for you guys, with you guys, for we are one. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Nice to have all 90 or so of you. I wasn't really looking at any of that stuff. Thanks for all the comments and all the ideas. Remember, please pop over to Patreon. $1 gets you everything every month. So rock on. There's even free print and play stuff over there now and again. And get out there, play games, be cool, keep it real, don't stiz kneel. You're always gonna get the disease. All right, this is Ingrid Bernal up here in Barhome signing off. I'll see you guys Saturday morning. And thanks, Andrew D. Christina, for the tip right at the end. I'll see you guys Saturday morning for classic Cardtoons. And who knows what we're going to be working on then, but more happy painting and thinking about good old D&D like big old badass. Or a little bit just more badass than we used to be, all right? Make today a great one. See you guys on the internet, all right? Peace them out. Put two up a day down a bit. A wabba day by my Nina, hey. A wabba day, wabba dee. A wabba day, wabba hina, hey. A wabba day, wabba nay. A wabba hima nana, hey. Hey, 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 hey.